What's up, everybody? This is Robert Ferguson, your nutritionist. Your nutritionist. Hey, a guy who shares because I care. Now, for those of you who are personal trainers, nutritionists, wellness advocates, anyone who's preaching better health, you're going to enjoy what I'm going to share today because it's going to help you better understand from whence we come. And many of you who grew up putting a lot of focus on that scale. That means like when you gain weight on that scale, you don't feel good. When you lose weight on that scale, you feel great. How the hell did we get to this place? Really, how do we get to this place where the scale plays a huge role in how we feel about ourselves? So before I dive in, do me a favor. In the comments, and if you get a chance, please like, subscribe, all of that positive good stuff. When do you guys, anyone who's catching this live, when do you remember becoming aware of the scale? When do you remember dieting for the first time? When do you remember for the first time being aware that maybe it's time to do a diet? When did you first even learn about a diet? When did the scale become something that was part of your life? I really want to hear that. Now, I'm going to come back to this because I'm going to share some background information with you that most people aren't aware of. They're just not. Now, as a coach or an advocate or anyone who's trying to lose weight, what I'm going to share is something that will help you better understand why you think about your weight or why the world thinks about weight the way we think about it. And it's really interesting. I'm going to connect the dots and I'm going to help you understand when we as a society began the process of being indoctrinated to think about weight the way we think about weight. When was the first time you remember dieting? Now, according to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the majority of people begin dieting at the young age of 9, and I'm talking women. 9 years of age. Most women over the years that I've talked to and coached remember becoming aware of weight by watching their parents go through the struggle. Now, I'm going to bring clarity to all of this. Now, for those of you who are new to me, I thank you for being here. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to share with you information. If you want to learn more about me or our programs, our services, go to dietforyourlife.com. We're less than 2 weeks. Well, we're 2 weeks away from the kickoff for the Gut Health Challenge. If you have friends, invite them to do the challenge. If you have not registered and signed up yet, register and sign up because after this weekend, the price is going up. So if you know someone who's thinking about it and they want to learn and they want to become more knowledgeable about health, they want to get their own gut and better health, they want to learn things that most people don't know, so then they can make real decisions instead of just falling prey to what they think is right. The challenge is ideal for you. And for those of you who have done our detox drop or you enjoy our supplements, right now we still have in effect free shipping. Use the discount code January and you won't have to pay for shipping. That's a nice savings. Okay, I'm ready to dive in. I am ready to dive in because I'm going to talk about something that I believe you want to know. Okay. Oh, man. Okay. All right. Well, someone on Facebook who's listening in, catching us live, they said that they remember beginning their diet career, if you will, in their 20s. Sherry says she's been doing it her whole life. Someone else in one of our private groups said, my niece is 13 and she's already on a diet. Darlene, what's up, Darlene? She says she remembers at age 13 years old. Wow. Okay. Now I'm going to cover some good stuff. And if anyone catches it toward the end, I'll say a few times they got to go back, because, if you miss the beginning, then you kind of miss it all. You know what I'm saying? So we live in a world right now, and all of us, anyone who's listening to this, especially if you grew up in the United States of America or Canada, from the time you were a baby, when you were first born, and I live this because I have 2 daughters, right when my kids were born, the mom gets to hug them, they have that moment. But as soon as that moment, there's a break, I was escorted down with one of the nurses and watched my daughters get weighed in. They check their weight and they check their height. This is when it begins for each one of us. And every time you go to the doctor for a doctor visit, you guys could finish my sentence on this. What happens? You walk in, they have you stand on the scale, they check your weight, they check your height. That's how it all begins. And then they compare to what they refer to as a national average. And when you have a baby, like a small baby, they will start telling you about percentiles. Are they normal weight, or, and I get all of that. But every time, you may be a 65-year-old woman, you may be 79 years old. When you go see your doctor, they're going to have you step on that scale. They're going to check your weight. They compare it to the last time. They're going to check your height. And then every once in a while, they'll do your blood pressure and check your pulse and some of those basic things. But we're talking about the biggest lie, one of the biggest lies ever when it comes to the scale and losing weight. It started in 1913. That was 110 years ago. And when I say 1913, it actually started before that. But in 1913, that's when the first bathroom scale was imported from Germany and then made available and was sold in the United States. 1913. Now, if you go back and you look at it, there's a lot that went on around and during all of this time. And before this happened, we had fairs. So the scales were available. They were out there, but they used to be like penny scales. It was more of an attraction, right? You put your penny in, and then it was like, okay, we're going to guess your weight. And there are people who became very wealthy buying these penny scales, because before they were in homes as a bathroom scale, you had to find a place that had it. Like, I know in 1922, the Commissioner of Health for Chicago had a scale in 1922 installed in the lobby of City Hall. And when they had the scale at City Hall, they made it open where people could go there and check their weight. And people would go there all day, all throughout the day, to check their weight. It was 100% like the hottest ticket in town. And people still didn't get it because we didn't know if you were overweight or not. There was no standard. There was nothing in place. Nothing. But again, you would want to know once you knew. It's kind of like getting a cell phone or an iPhone or an Android, whatever you have, and they give it to you for the first time, and you touch it and you look at it. You can see I can watch a movie, I can watch TV, I could text a friend, I could screen, I could show my face and talk to a friend across the world. And imagine you get that and then they take it away from you. That wouldn't go well. Because once you see it, it's like you can't, there's no turning back. Well, this is what happened when people discovered their weight on the scale. Yeah, this is what happened. And as it became more and more and more popular, more and more people were intrigued and they wanted to know more. It's amazing. And the penny scales, man, they were bringing in some serious money. Serious money. I think I read somewhere where the penny scales were so big in making money, right? Both for the companies and for the shoppers, wherever you would go and get on it, or the people who owned them. They literally were making millions of dollars. In 1927, New York Times reported that 40,000 penny scales had profited $5 million the year before. That means Americans had stepped onto the scales 500 million times. We were intrigued. So it was just a matter of time before someone figured out, like from Germany, how we can get them imported and how somebody could sell them. And then, of course, it didn't take long for America to step up. And we came out with our very own scale in 1917. And there was many other companies that were coming out with them. And by the time 1921 came about, there was a company called the Teco Scale Company. By the time 1925 came around, their scale, they claimed their scale alone was used by over 1 million people. This thing was on fire. Now, there's something important to mention. Around this same time, there was a woman by the name of Dr. Lulu Hunt Peters. Dr. Lulu Hunt Peters. Now, this woman was born in 1873, and she was one of less than 10% of female medical doctors. She was a licensed doctor, and she battled with her weight. And around this time in the early 1900s, calories were being introduced right when the scale was coming out. And she had a column that was in her column ended up being in like over 400 different newspapers around the country. And her column was titled Diet and Health. Now, the scale made people realize, hey, what should you weigh? What should you not weigh? And so there's a lot of different information out there. But people just got like just overwhelmed with the scale. And she later wrote a book that came out in 1918 called Diet and Health, the same as her column. And the subtitle was With Key to the Calories. So calories were new. The scale was new. She had like one of the first best-selling books. And just so you know, she never, ever, ever, ever conquered her weight. She battled until she died. She only lived to be, I think, 57, 56 years old. And people didn't live that long back then. And so she died in 1930. But she had a best-selling book. She never, ever was successful with keeping the weight off. I mean, I think she lost weight here and there, as the reports say, but she never won. But she introduced people to calories in a way where people would walk around, they would go, oh, I'm going to have a 100-calorie apple. I'm going to have a 125-calorie piece of cake. I'm going to have a 300-calorie burger. So that's how they looked at calories back then. So the calories and the scale became very popular. It was like everywhere. And people were making money. People were excited about the scale. And then, oh, here we go. And there's so much I can share with you guys. This will be in my, I go into detail in my next book. I talk about this because understanding the scale, it plays a huge role in whether we understand if we're making progress or not. Because most of us, we step on the scale, that's the Almighty. And we've been indoctrinated for generations to give all the credit to the scale. And the scale does not measure if you lost fat. It doesn't tell you necessarily if you lost skeletal muscle. I mean, the newer scales give you an estimate, which is great. But most people are so focused on the weight on the scale that that's the only thing that matters. And that is the first demonstration when I'm talking to a so-called expert or someone who feels they're an expert or an advocate for better health, is that if they don't understand the scale, run, because they don't know what the hell they're talking about. Now, when all this was happening in the early 1900s, the infectious diseases that were the most common were things like tuberculosis, pneumonia. Those were the leading causes of death. Fast forward, and beginning in the early 1930s, everything shifted to cancer and cardiovascular disease, and that's where it continues to be to this day. Now, after the war, right? Because we had the big war, a lot of things changed. We no longer imported scales from Germany. We had our own scales. And then the Metropolitan Life Insurance Company got involved. And you may be thinking, like, what do you mean? Well, they were giving people life insurance. And so they needed to come up with ways to, all right, how do you value or position like one person to pay a smaller premium than someone else? Like if someone's already diagnosed with heart disease, okay, and they want life insurance, then of course they're going to pay more. But what about all those people who don't have any like health conditions? What are we going to do to like figure out what we should charge them for their life insurance? Like is there a way we can predict mortality? And there was this gentleman by the name of George Shepard. He was the first person, George Shepard, to come up with a weight table, which he standardized, that would predict the likelihood of you dying. And it was around this same time, and they did it primarily for men, and then they later came up with an equation for women. And it was all about policies. And that's when the BMI, the body mass index, became something that they looked at, which it wasn't called that at the time. But a gentleman by the name of Adolphe Quetelet, he came up with this in the early 1800s. It transferred over. The Metropolitan Life Insurance Company was the first ones to come up with a standardized formula for what would be considered a good weight and what would be considered a not so good weight. Okay, so I'm going to stop there because there's so much I could share. Like I'm looking at, like I've written these chapters in my book already, and they're very intriguing. And even in the end, I can tell you right now that the bathroom scale, okay, brings in about $2.8 to $3 billion, the sale of them every year. People get on the scale. People get on the scale. Now, here's the things you want to know about the scale, and then I'm going to let you go. Because the bathroom scale is one of the biggest lies ever. Right now, there's people on Ozempic, Wegovy, some of these weight loss drugs. I'm going to use this to make a point. And you meet them and they say, oh, I've lost a good amount of weight on this drug. I don't know what people are talking about. It was worked out for me. Oh, is that right? How much weight have you lost? I think I'm down about 40 pounds. 40 pounds of what, sir? 40 pounds of what, ma'am? Like, what do you mean, Robert? 40 pounds of what? Well, is it fat weight that you lost? Because the scale is only giving you your weight. Or did you pay attention to your body fat percentage? And then almost everyone will go, well, it must be fat weight. They're guessing. They don't know. They are guessing. Because losing skeletal weight, like if you're my client and you lost 10 pounds of skeletal muscle, you may be happy because you want to be able to say, oh, I've lost 10 pounds. But I am concerned and frustrated and sad. Because if it's skeletal muscle, I know that I've slowed your metabolism. I know that I've damaged your immune system. I know that I've made you more susceptible to die if you were to be diagnosed with cancer. I know that I increase your risk of a heart attack by 300% because the majority of the weight that you lost is skeletal muscle. You're happy because you're ignorant, right? So if someone's happy, oh, I'm down 20 pounds, woohoo, woohoo. Well, if it's the wrong 20 pounds, I hate to be the one that brings in the rain, but that's not good. You just messed up a whole bunch of things, and depending on your age, you may not be able to correct it. So the bathroom scale is a liar, and people have become comfortable and okay with being lied to. Now, they don't know they're being lied to because they're not informed. If they were informed and they understood the seriousness of losing skeletal muscle, no one, not one person, would be on these weight loss drugs. Not one person. It just shows the ignorance, right? So I've already dived in on Oprah. She's just ignorant. Most physicians, they're just ignorant. It's not necessarily their fault. They're just ignorant. They don't know any better. It's not part of the curriculum when they became a physician. It wasn't part of the acumen. Like it wasn't part of their indoctrination to be a physician to understand body composition, which is not just looking at the weight on the scale, but looking at the body composition. What is that weight made up of? How much of that weight is organs? How much of that weight is your skeletal muscle? How much of that weight is water? How much of that weight is fat? These are the kind of things that people, in my opinion, it would make sense if everybody got upset and we like went up to the Capitol and had meetings and go, we need to see a change. We need to see a change. And with all of these health companies promoting supplements, promoting weight loss, promoting health, promoting all of these things, none of them are talking about body composition. Unbelievable to me. It is so sad that this continues to just go the way it goes. That's why I'm proud of all of our coaches. When people are certified with us, I know that they understand the importance of body composition. We're not trying to just lose weight. When we get rid of something, it's excess body fat. And we make it clear, even when our clients don't want to hear it. Most of my clients, I do what I can to get them to get it. I mean, I do like little talks like this, and I hope they get it, but they don't get it. How are you going to get it when your whole life, and now you're a 58-year-old woman, your whole life, you never thought about body composition, and you meet me and I'm coaching you or one of our coaches, and we're talking about it, and we're excited and passionate about, making sure we lose fat. All you can think about is the weight on the scale. That's what we're up against. Once a person shifts, and I've seen them shift, to understanding the importance of what kind of weight they lose, then they see more value in what I bring to the table. Otherwise, people are just, oh yeah, I lost 20 pounds. Oh yeah, I lost 15 pounds. 15 pounds of what? Fat? Jesus. And you can't find a physician. You cannot find a personal trainer. You cannot find anyone in the health, as I share what I'm sharing, that's going to disagree with me. They all will agree. Like I saw a celebrity today on YouTube. Someone sent me this video and they were talking about how much protein to eat. And I can't think of her name, but she used to be big with Beachbody back in the day. She had a very successful infomercial, did really well. Now she's like a social media, I don't know, expertise person. She gives advice on all that. I mean, and then you got to look at the reality. I mean, she was on TV nonstop for years. You don't think she's going to have good, social media? Absolutely. Well, I heard her say in a little talk today, she said that muscle weighs more than fat. And I just could not believe she said that. With thousands of people that follow her, it's the blind leading the blind. Like this, the people don't know. That's why sometimes I come across in a way where I don't want to be pompous and all that. I don't even think about that. But sometimes it's best for me to at least say it so people who don't know me will go, oh, okay. He said he's not pompous. He's just maybe passionate about what the point he's wanting to make. Yeah, because I know the importance of it. And I know. And what I'm sharing, I'm not just sharing like that lady did today that muscle weighs more than fat, because it doesn't. Next time you hear someone say that, can you please stop them and say, muscle does not weigh more than fat. A pound is a pound. The difference is that fat takes up more space. If we're talking 1 pound of fat, it takes up more space than 1 pound of muscle. Muscle does not weigh more than fat. Please stop that. And every time I say this, I still will go on a meeting and I'll meet someone who's a trainer or they're a nutritionist. And again, they'll make that comment. I'm like, Lord, help me. And this is just a little bit of the misinformation that's out there. Just a little bit. If you want to really understand nutrition, weight loss, fitness, health, it's important that you understand from whence we come. What took place between 1880 and 1920, as far as the Industrial Revolution, the way food was starting to change, the USDA's being formulated, the FDA, all these things were happening. Calories were introduced. The first weight loss book becomes a bestseller. Wow. Go there. Because you'll also discover there that, hell, before 1912, we didn't have reported cases of heart attack. After 1920, it became the number one killer. And it still is today. And you can see over history, all the things that were introduced to the food supply, how we did things differently, how everything just got worse. If you look at a photo of Woodstock in 1960s, or any photo where there's a lot of people walking around, they're on the beach, you have to look really hard to find someone who is obviously overweight. You had to look really hard. So something happened from the early 70s and was fully implemented in the early 1990s that put us in a situation right now where people are battling with their weight, battling with their health, struggling to lose the weight. I know what it is. I get it, because that's what I do. My goal is to share this information with you. So the bathroom scale is one of the reasons why many people are mentally in jail when it comes to their health. Calories is another thing that's a lie. And in my book, I go into great detail on that. And I got support from National Institute of Health, World Health Organization. So it's not like I came up with it or I'm the one that discovered it. This is known facts that calories don't count. However, it's so indoctrinated in everything that we do. It's on the labels. People talk about calories all the time. It's in all the medical books. But yet we know that it's not just about calories. And I'm talking about losing weight or being healthy. All right, you guys got it. I'm Robert Ferguson. I share because I care. Let me give a big shout out. What's up, Sandy? I'm glad you made it. If you came here late, anyone, go back, listen from the beginning, because I shared some really good information that can help anyone who cares about their own health and wants to better understand from whence we come, like how do we get to where we are. And the bathroom scale has played one of the biggest roles in why people think about the weight, the way they think about their weight. And then there's more on top of that. Okay, share this with somebody. Educate with other people. I mean, it's not something that, okay, well, once I know that, then what? Well, once you know that, then when you step on the scale and it doesn't move in the direction that you want it to move in, and you feel like you've been doing everything right, do not be upset. The reason why you're upset is because you're giving credibility to the scale. And the scale does not deserve any credibility unless you're specifically looking at body fat percentage, and we're tracking that so that we know the weight that we're losing primarily is coming from fat and not skeletal muscle or water. And most people don't know, right? So if a kid is born today, they don't know that the reason why most people think about the weight on the scale is because for multiple generations, going back to the early 1900s, we've all been indoctrinated to give credibility to the scale. Now they're in every home. Before 1913, you couldn't go into someone's house and check your weight. Most people were still going, they had to go outside to go use the restroom. They had outhouses. We had bathroom scales before we had indoor plumbing. That's how important the scale became and how fixated people were on about the damn scale. Focus on how you create health and how you live your life, not the scale. If you're eating right and you're doing right and you're putting in the time, really trust your clothes. The weight on the scale will come down. That is not how you monitor your progress. So when I get on the phone with a client, hey, how you do? It's all about they can't help but let their mind go to the place where my progress is the scale. It ain't the scale. How do you damn feel? How are you sleeping compared to what you were doing before we started working together? What's your clarity like? How's your clothes fitting? I mean, it's not about the damn scale. If your fasting glucose has been up high, tell me about that. Last week it was 140. This week is 129. Awesome. And next week, maybe it'll be 115. Maybe you're getting off of blood pressure medication. Maybe you're like cutting some meds and you know what I mean? Like, it's not just the weight on the scale. I want to know more because that's where the real value is. You guys got this. You got this. I appreciate you all. Thank you. We're working on the schedule still. My goal is to be hitting you on a regular basis. Right now, I want to get things done earlier. On Tuesdays, we're pretty set now where we go live at 5:30 p.m. Pacific. And then wherever you are as far as YouTube or Facebook, we didn't go to Telegram. Okay. So that's for sure. I'm looking at maybe doing something around 11 o'clock daily is what my goal is right now. So 11 a.m. Pacific. Then it'll be there. You can catch the replay. But as far as going live, you can catch it. And, you know, if you're on YouTube or Facebook and you catch me live, you know, whether you see me or whether it's like this, you can just hit your volume, your speaker, and you can just like be typing up something, cooking dinner, going to lunch, driving in the car, and you can catch things live if it works out for you. If not, the replay will be there. Okay. All right, you guys. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Share the good news over the diet blues. My goal is to get people involved. And if you haven't joined the Gut Health Challenge, get set up. We're starting in 2 weeks. We have 2 weeks. Okay. If you have a friend or somebody that you want to learn about the Diet for Your Life methodology, the Gut Health Challenge would be a good place for them to start. They're going to learn a lot. They're also going to be able to lose weight. They're going to learn. They're going to get recipes. They're going to get all of these cool things. That's a great place for someone to start because it's right around the corner. We're starting in 2 weeks. Okay. So if you have questions, reach out to me. My assistant is Lori. Her email is lori@dietfreelife.com. Other than that, I'm Robert Ferguson. I share because I care. Until the next one.